Hello, welcome to Garage Orchestra 2.0. My name is Mrs. Nelson, and today we're going to be talking about the care of your string instrument. Number one is to make sure that you have a place, a safe place in your house to keep your instrument. It should be out of the way so it won't get bumped into, it won't get knocked over, and a place where you can easily reach it to be able to practice every day. I highly recommend that you leave your instrument in its case at home. Unless you have a really cool stand built specifically for a violin, viola, cello, or bass, leave it in its case and leave it protected in a safe place in your house. Having like a music corner or a music room, if you have space available, is a great way to do that. So you can keep all of your stuff together at all times. It is really important that our instruments stay at a good constant temperature all the time. So that means do not leave your instrument in the car ever. Um, Cars get really, really hot in the summer, and you do not want your instrument to be changing temperature that much. Cars get really cold in the winter, and you absolutely don't want your instruments changing temperature that much. These instruments are made out of wood and they can crack very easily, and the seams that are just glued together can come unglued and open very easily as well. And temperature is one of the number one things that makes that happen. It is very important to make sure your instrument is in tune at all times. I know you guys are just beginning, but we're going to be working on keeping your instrument in tune and adjusting things. So if your instrument's out of tune and it's too out of tune for you to mess with, if you have to do the pegs, please contact your teacher and make sure that your instrument stays pretty close to being in tune. If your instrument is if the strings are too tight or too loose, it changes how the tension of your instrument is, and it can be not really good for your instrument. So it's really important that you keep it in tune. If your strings become too loose, your bridge and your sound post can also fall over, and we don't want that to happen. Cellos and basses, I highly recommend that you keep your end pins in when they're not being played. If you leave your cello on the ground with a big stick coming out of it, it's a tripping hazard, and you might knock over your instrument by knocking into the end pin. And sometimes those end pins are really sharp, and we don't want you to get hurt walking into it. We definitely don't want mom to get hurt walking into it when she's trying to tell you to clean your room, too. Just kidding. I'm sure all orchestra students have super clean rooms. Let's talk about the bow for a minute. The bow should always have the hair loose when you're not playing. See how loose the hair is and how close the stick is to the hair? That's a nice loose bow. We don't want the hair so loose that it's flapping around and wobbly, because when you put it in the case like that, the hair could be damaged. We want it just loose enough that there's no tension on the stick, but the hair is not flopping around. When you play, you do need to tighten your bow just enough that the stick is still bendable. It's still curved towards the hair, but there's just enough space that I can almost fit my fingers in there. The space on my bass bow is even bigger than on my violin bow. Something else we need to talk about with the bow is rosin. Now, there are different types of rosin, and your rosin may look different than this, but rosin is the sticky substance that we put on the bow to help make a sound. Your bow should be rosined every single time you play. Violins, violas, and cellos rosin going up and down. And if your bow doesn't have, if it needs a lot of rosin, you can go up and down really fast in a short motion instead of straight up and down the bow. So you can go up and down, long, short, however you want to put on your rosin the best. We do not want to touch the hair with our hands and put oil on the hair. And keeping your bow rosin will help keep the oils away. Now, bases, you rosin your bow a little bit differently. You take your rosin, which is much more moldable and it melts easier and it's made up of a little bit different substance. We only want to pull from the frog to the tip, and you have to actually dig into that rosin a little bit more and break in more so than the cellos and the violins and the violas. So you'll dig in and you'll only go in the down bow motion. You do not want to go back and forth. That will hurt the hair of your bow and it'll mess up your rosin quite a bit too. When you're done playing, don't forget to, you're right, loosen your bow. Another thing to mention is don't forget to put your bow in the case. I've had so many students show up at lessons with a packed up cello or a packed up violin, a packed up bass or viola, and they forgot their bow on the music stand. So whenever you pack up your instrument, make sure to put your bow away as well. Now, I will note that you see my bass leaned up in the corner in the back of some of my videos. I highly recommend that you don't do that at home. I would much rather you have your bass leaned on its side, laying on its side on the floor. I know it saves space if you put it in a corner, but the odds of it falling over or getting knocked over are much higher if you have it in the corner like that. I do not keep my bass in the corner like that in my house. I keep it in a stand where it is protected and safe and it cannot fall over. If you're interested in getting a stand like I have, I will put a link to that in the description of this video, and you can look into getting that. It does fit a cello as well, but not quite as well as a bass. I would recommend keeping your cello in the case. If you have damaged your instrument in any way, shape, or form, please don't try and fix it yourself. Please reach out to your teacher or a reputable string shop in your area to see what needs to be done to have it fixed. Don't try and fix it yourself.